Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Nauert, and I am the Senior Film Programming Conference Manager here at South by Southwest, and I'm also one of the film programmers for the Film Festival. It is great to see everyone here for the third day of South by. Hope everyone's doing well. Before we get started, I wanted to give a little bit of housekeeping. I believe that this session will use, or it might use Slido as a Q&A for audience questions. If you would like to enter a question to potentially be answered, you can go to Slido, or you can go to the South by Southwest Go app and find the session page for this, or on your computer, you can go to the online schedule for a chance to be answered at the end if this session does indeed use Slido. But before we get started, I did just want to ask, I'm guessing, was everyone here at the opening night screening the other night? Yes? Amazing, yes, incredible. This is such a unique film, and when the programming team saw it, we just could not stop talking about it. And I'm so glad that we can actually talk to other people about it now out in the world. It's a unique film that could have really only come from the mind of the Daniels. But even while watching it, it's like, how the hell do they actually make this film and pull it off? So we are so excited to have the creative team behind that here today to talk about that process. Without any further ado, everyone, please welcome to the stage the Daniels, as well as Allison Rose Carter, John Reed, and Jonathan Wang.
Oh, we didn't get to pick our own walkout music. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for deciding to spend your Sunday afternoon with us. I know this point of the festival is usually when everyone is sleeping or,
Nursing a hangover.
Exactly.
You're not doing that,
definitely
right?
not me.
Right.
Not nursing.
Looks great.
Yeah. We took it real easy.
But before we start, I know he already asked us. I didn't get to see. Show of hands. Who has actually seen the film? Holy shit, you guys!
Oh, great.
Guys,
we can get nitty gritty. We were worried
I
we'd
was-
have to avoid spoilers.
Oh
There's
my
a lot
God,
of
we're gonna get into it.
euphemisms.
This is so exciting.
Yeah.
And then next question: anyone here in the film industry actually make things? Indie film? Yeah. Okay, great.
Rock and roll.
How many of you guys are producers? Producer brains. Okay, cool.
Cool.
So today we decided we're of all the people who are here, what would be a really interesting way for us to talk about this movie? And I think whenever people watch the movie, they say, "How did you guys make this? How does this exist?" This is an independent film, relatively low budget. I will say at least 10 times smaller than the Marvel budget, but we went hard and we made something really amazing, and I'm really proud of it. And I think a big part of it is because our producing team. So one more time, you guys want to go down the line, just say your name, what you did on the movie. Just
Because we don't remember.
yeah, exactly.
I'm John Reed. I was a co-producer and a production supervisor, and that's it.
You.
Hi, I'm Allison Rose Carter. I was also a co-producer and a UPM.
I'm Jonathan Wang, sometimes pronounced Wang, but it's actually Wang. And I was a producer.
And we wrote and directed it. And
Yeah, what do you guys do?
yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Oh, man. We also got producer credit, but you guys did a lot of it. Yeah, so we were excited today to kind of compliment these guys. So we'll start with that. But also kind of get in the weeds and try to informally talk about, how movies are actually made, So we'll try to get specific, instead of all those vague marketing, buzzwords. We can just
And
talk
then
about.
there will be a little time for Q&A, so think of a really good question. If it's really good, maybe we'll reward you with some prizes. So think about some really good, interesting questions.
So John has been producing things of ours for 11 years, I think.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So we go way back, and John was part of this movie from square one, negative square one. You were helping inspire the movie before we even had the idea. So that's pretty wild and cool, and we're so lucky to have a team of people that we've worked with before so that when we have an idea, there's not even this process of like, who's gonna help us get this made? It's just like, oh, great, I'm just gonna text John and say, we've got a new idea. So that's a little bit about John. And John had worked with Allison and John Reed before, and so when we were trying to find folks to help us budget it and get it together and get it made, he sang these guys' praises. Just one movie together, right?
Yeah, just one.
They had just done False Positive.
In New York, and I forced them to come and pick up their life and move to LA.
Yeah. So we were very excited when we met y'all because you were immediately very lovely people. And then, but I was kind of like incredulous. I was like, they're not going to come to LA. We don't even have a green light yet. And
Also, mind you, we have a track record of having line producers come onto our project, read the script, look at the budget, and then say,
And
"Never
quit.
mind."
Laugh in your
it's
face.
like,
It happened on Swiss Army Man a couple
or
times.
they get on the phone and they're like, so it's impossible. And we're like, no, it's not. And then they quit.
Yeah, it happened a lot on our music videos, and so whenever we meet up with a line producer or UP,
It happened
or
a few
anyone-
times on Swiss Army Man.
Exactly,
Right? We went
yeah.
through a couple.
So exactly. So every time we meet with someone who has to do this job, we're like, really, we don't actually believe it's going to happen. You're like, there's no way they're actually going to stick around for this. And to their credit, they're here. They pulled off the impossible.
And also to their credit, y'all came to LA and helped and believed in the project for weeks and weeks and weeks before it was for sure happening. And
A few months, yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, rub it in.
Weeks and weeks and weeks, that equals...
Oh, sorry, that's bad math.
No, yeah. But I kind of couldn't believe it as it was happening. I didn't quite understand it. I was like, how does this work? Like, I still don't. That's part of this is just because Dan and I want to understand how our own movies work.
Yeah, how does it get made? Okay,
Okay,
well,
so there's a role called a producer.
Right.
okay.
And
what were your initial thoughts as coming from the logistical side, reading the script first time? What was like? Where were your brains at?
I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot, but it felt like just sort of like 4 more layers than you're used to when you read something. You're like, okay, well, I'm used to doing 30% of this, so yeah, why can't we do 100% of this? Like, we're just gonna have to do that much more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love reading scripts, and when I finish the script, think I have a lot of research to do. That usually means I'm going to take the movie, and that was so. Reading you guys' script, I was like, I have a lot of research in order to be prepared to make this movie, and that's kind of how I approached it.
Do you remember something you researched in particular?
Well, I was telling Dan, I spent like a handful of afternoons just watching YouTube videos about visual effects and like independent artists that do visual effects in their living rooms just for fun. There's a lot of really great YouTube content out there of it.
Hey, that's how we learned visual effects too. Yeah, for our
Yeah.
movie.
Shout out to our VFX supervisor, Zach Stoltz, right there.
Zach Sold.
But yeah, that's wonderful that you. It makes sense then why you didn't freak out as much when we told you that we were gonna try to do all the visual effects ourselves with friends instead of a VFX house, because that was part of how we said we were gonna pull this off. Was we're like, I know on paper it sounds like a $10 million of visual effects kind of line item, but we think we could do it with some friends for 100 times less. No.
Oh, speaking of research, we're amazing moderators, and we do this all the time, and we forgot we're supposed to introduce the trailer.
Introduce what?
The trailer. For all the people who at home or anyone here who hasn't seen the movie, we're going to play the trailer for you.
Oh, sick.
Oh, the thing we've been talking about? For
Yeah,
so long?
exactly.
All right, let's
So
go back.
let's play the
start
trailer,
over.
guys.
Should we leave and
Great
come back?
segue.
All right, let's go.
Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang.
Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
I am paying attention.
Now, you may only see a pile of receipts, but I see a story. I can see where this story is going. It does not look good.
What's happening?
Evelyn, I'm not your husband.
another version of them from another universe. I'm here because we need your help.
Very busy today. No time to help you.
Across the multiverse, I've seen thousands of Evelyns. You can access all of their memories, their emotions, even their skills. There's a great evil spreading throughout the many verses. And you may be your only chance of stopping it.
Don't make me fight you. I am really good.
I don't believe you.
Wow, that was really good.
He's waiting in the wings.
The
He
universe
speaks of senseless things.
is so much bigger
Script is you and
than you realize.
Of all the places I could be, I just want to share with you.
Remember our mission concerning the fate of every single world of our infinite multiverse.
There is no way I am the Evelyn you are looking for.
Every rejection, every disappointment has led you here. To this moment. Don't let anything distract you from it.
Our trailer. So to kind of sum it up, like that, you're talking about 30% normal movie. To get to 100%, what does that mean? This is an indie film that has like 500 or 600 effects shots. It has like 3 main storylines plus 5 or 6 more subplots plus maybe a couple dozen more subplots, and then maybe a few hundred universes that exist for one frame. So it's
Then
it is
it's also a kung fu movie with like
full-on action sequence.
4 full-on action scenes, and then like 4 like little ones peppered between those big boys.
Right, and so that for those who haven't seen it, that's what John meant by that extra 70%. It's like, oh, this is like making every movie. I mean, every movie all at once. Okay, so let's continue this conversation.
I remember when I got the first draft of the script, and we worked together for so long that it's like most of my job is just pulling, like, okay, let me get the information from you. Give me the information. And so they're like, all right, fine, we'll send you the first draft of the script, but like, it's got a lot of changes. And I remember, well, Josh can help me. Josh is their manager and executive producer on the movie.
Say hi, Josh. Josh is
Couldn't be in the movie
our
without him.
manager, but he does so much more than that, and
Yeah.
he's integral to everything we do. He's also a producer on the project. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone who wants to work in film should find someone like Josh who will do much more than just their job, and that's what.
Yeah, we like hats
That's
on
what
hats.
these guys do too, is much more than just their job. But what was the page count for the first draft? 240 pages, and those 240
actually
pages.
think
I
did
think it
the
was more.
240 version include the long intro?
No,
I think we had cut out. We had a 12-page intro that we were like,
Right,
we'll
right,
cut that
right.
out so it's not 255.
Was that
Right.
Magnolia?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of versions of the movie, but it was 240 some pages. But the rule of thumb in film is it's a minute per page, so that would have been a 240-minute movie.
Fast math. Go. How many?
Yeah. 4 hours, baby.
4 hours.
4 hours with a 15-minute
Yeah.
intro. It would have been.
Do you guys like that? The only Asian, or like, one of the Asians on the stage is terrible at math. So, breaking stereotypes left and right, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 hours long. So,
And you read it and you were like, this is producible. This is easy.
Yeah, I figured we're gonna have to squeeze this down. So then all they did was just end up just cutting out the scene descriptions and then just cheated the math and then squeezed it into a box, and then we made that movie, and it shouldn't
Yeah,
happen.
nothing changed. Right.
don't do that, guys. Be honest with yourselves. Like, that's pro tip 1. If you're being ambitious, be honest with yourself when you're cutting your script down. We were like being like, maybe we just like don't use periods for the entire whatever. It's like, okay, that will cut down like
It's like when you do homework in high school and you're like, it has to be 3 pages, so you like figure out how to do the margins and double space
We did the
it.
opposite
They
of
did
that.
The opposite.
Yeah, to make it seem shorter than it was. But it was still, yeah. The final shooting draft was 120 pages. So we were like, see, like 2-hour movie, that's reasonable.
But for some more background, just because we're talking about this movie, like, what was something from one of your past projects that you felt like really helped you with this one? And then what was something in this movie that you just you were terrified of? That you'd never done before in your life, in your career, and you're like, I don't know if I can pull this off. Just because I think it's good to know like what kind of work you guys have done before and what your strong suits are. 'Cause I'm also just curious now.
I mean, if you work in independent film like some of you guys do, a lot of projects have some form of special effects, visual effects, stunts, but they're like minimal because these are things that you can't usually fit into any kind of independent film. I mean, if you're really deciding to do something that has a lot of those, then you're really committing to that being like the one thing you're spending money on. And this movie had a lot of all of that, which is exciting. Like Allison was saying, like researching visual effects, and I was like, like researching trying to figure out like what a stunt team looks like for someone who had only had stunt performers in for a couple of days of every movie to say we're gonna have like a 15-person team there every day, like training or playing. That was very scary. I mean, I wasn't even really in charge of that department.
There he is.
Oh,
There's the guy
who was in
himself.
charge of that department?
Big
Tim
Tim.
Tim Ulick's here.
Yeah, that was for me as well. It's like, how do we do these fight sequences safely and
Yeah.
like by the board, but also creatively, and having that balance. And like, big props to Tim for being a huge support in like making that happen, so that we could have these awesome fight sequences.
I'm gonna embarrass Tim more because he's so good and so talented. Stunt people, a lot of people in our industry are very much sticklers, and it's a good thing to be a stickler because you keep people safe, you keep people from being abused, and we are all about fair and healthy working conditions. But there's also the person who's willing to sit down and think outside the box within the parameters of safety, within the parameters of the movie. And without someone like Tim, we would never have been able to pull off this movie. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Nobody got hurt. You'll watch the movie and you'll be like, it looks like a lot of people got hurt. But nobody got hurt.
Yeah, but the other thing about the action is that this is kind of Daniel's process, is that they always know what they want to do, and then they're willing to do it in an unconventional way. So one of the things that they said was, we don't want to have Marvel coverage of the fighting, so that you have someone else go and previs your whole fight sequence, and then you come together and you show the fight scenes, and it's really because they're just selfish.
And a lot of
and
times
like
it's the second unit thing. Like a lot of times the director doesn't get to direct the action, and we're like, no, that's the only thing we want to direct. Like we'll go do a second unit. Someone else.
Someone else gets to film the guy going out the window. That's the thing I want to shoot.
right.
It's true. Like the DGA rep would show up all the time being like, are the stunts being done without one of the directors? And it's like, no, they would never, like ever.
Right. But what they decided was like, all right, we don't want that sort of choreography, so we're going to go on YouTube and find these weird kids from Orange County called Marshall Club, and figured out with Tim, how do we let these people who they saw so much of themselves in these two young guys, Andy and Brian, and like, how can we train them to work with Michelle Yeoh and Kwan and really be able to choreograph Hong Kong style fight sequences. And that was Tim and you two being willing to think outside the box and be like, let's make this work.
Yeah, so legitimately we were watching YouTube for references because we grew up obsessed with Hong Kong film, and like just that style of action is so beautiful. It's a dance. It's playful. It's way more fun than like maybe just because I grew up on it. It's like that's the stuff I get so pumped for. And we just were watching this video on YouTube, and there's these guys. They're like they looked college age. We're like, they're probably in China. Like there's no way we can hire these guys. It turns out they're in the OC. They are just like the sweetest pack of dogs. Like they just have so much energy. And
I forgot until last night we were hanging out with them, and they reminded us that initially I reached out to them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I just like internet stalked them, and I was like, "Hey, I'm making a movie. I'm real." Apparently, I said like I'm a real director in the message because they're somewhat internet famous. So I was like, "Oh, their inbox is probably blowing up. They're not gonna read my message."
And you know, I think there were a lot of reservations about bringing a bunch of completely green but very talented guys on for something so, like, you know, like working with Michelle Yeoh. She's worked with the best. Yoon Woo Ping is like the best, like legendary choreographer who basically choreographed all your favorite kung fu movies you've ever seen. Even here in the States, he did Kill Bill, he did The Matrix. So, you know, she's used to working with the best. And we're like, Michelle, you want to work with these YouTube guys? But to her credit, she was game, and she actually said after we were done shooting, she's like, these guys remind me of when I was young and we were shooting just whatever we wanted in Hong Kong. You know, it felt like no rules. Let's just have some fun. Let's try things out. And the nice thing was, like, we had the safety net of Tim, who is very, very experienced. He's worked on so many movies way bigger than ours, and we were so lucky that he came down to our level. But he was kind of the safety net to make sure everything was done right and everything was done safely. And like Scheinert said, somehow we were able to pull off. You guys saw those action sequences. They're so fun and so inventive, and to have that kind of that level of creative action in an indie movie is like unheard of. So that checks off one box that you guys are afraid of: the action sequences. We found some guys on YouTube. Okay, so that's I don't know if you guys are taking notes.
But I think the thing about the whole process, and like really the thesis for how we pulled off the movie, was being able to do that in almost every department. And it's very rare to be able to find across the board everyone being willing to think like in that way. So when, you know, VFX, we did it that way. Camera, we did that way. Larkin is here. Hey, buddy.
Our cinematographer is here.
We'll get to him later. But yeah, every single department, and that was what you two did, was you built an incredible paradigm to be able to squeeze all, like, how do we take this finite amount of money and give every department the maximal amount of money to do it the way that we want to.
Yeah, and I think a huge thing that helped is that you guys worked with all these people before, because so much of independent film prep is just getting to know people. So I know I was a little anxious about coming in and being kind of the new kid and understanding, like, I've seen your work, and so I kind of get where your priorities are and where your creative, like, you know, design lives.
What are our priorities from an outsider? I'm just curious.
I would say it's a mixture of absurdism and heart.
How expensive is heart? Oh, sorry.
It's the heart that's
You're
cheap.
a really good moderator. You're really good.
But yeah, so it really, really helped that we didn't have to. No, it's not a waste of time, but the time had already been spent to build relationships with the DP, the production designer, and even Tim worked with you guys before on many things. So
actually,
that was really
Tim starred in our first music video that came to South by Southwest, and we actually won that year. And that was our first introduction to.
That was our first job with John too.
First job, yeah.
Can I ask what you guys had him do?
So if you guys have not seen,
you do know, yeah.
Have you guys have not seen the music video we did for Battles? It's basically a man falling down an escalator, like forever, for about 4 minutes straight, and it's a single shot.
It's an up escalator, and he slowly falls down it for a 3-minute song. And that was how we met Tim. Was he's the star, and he had to fall down an escalator for like a whole night.
But next time you're at the airport and you're on an escalator, look at the teeth that come out of an escalator, and that's literally he was falling down that all night.
It tore through your leather jacket. I remember being like,
yeah.
what the hell?
Four
leather jackets.
Like, what the hell are we doing to this
But
man?
the stunt pads underneath did not tear. Oh, fuck.
It's okay. That heals back. Stunt pads don't heal, so I think we're okay.
But that's a good case study for what we did on the movie. Is like we had like $4 to make that music video, but we still were like, okay, we need to do a motion control rig. So we ended up going to a motion control company, and we're like, please, can we just have one for free? And we'll use you in the future. And for some reason, they're like, okay.
Because we also pitched the idea, and we're like, you can brag that your machine can do all this. And I think they liked the concept too.
So far, YouTube and begging. These are the tricks.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
YouTube and begging, right?
I mean, I think a big piece of it is what Allison was saying, was having a team of people that you've worked with before, and the way that kind of extends out is the way that it comes back to your initial question is what did we bring to the table from previous projects is scope. Like you have to bring everybody in as you're starting to build a project and just give them an understanding of what the scope of the project is going to be. And if you set that correctly and everybody agrees on like how that's going to work, then the rest of it is like, well, we're all working on the same movie. We're all working in the same size film. If you come in and you give them some idea that they're making, a Marvel film, then things are going to go off the rails. But it's a lot easier to have that kind of scope when you're working with people you trust. So you guys, obviously, now we have a bunch of more people we trust. And we were able to bring some folks that we trust, and that was really what made it happen, was being able to like have honest communication together about what the thing actually needed to be.
Totally. We've already been doing this a little bit, but my question I was excited to ask y'all is what are some of the unsung heroes of the movie and why? It's just, there's a lot of them. It's one of my favorite things to talk about in general, but like, you guys, all three, did a very good job of kind of censoring Kwan and I from like certain challenges, because like we get overwhelmed if we know everything, and so sometimes it's like weeks later that like John would tell me like, oh my God, this almost happened and this person showed up and drove this truck for 6 hours last night. But I just thought it'd be fun to...
It happens almost every week on film shoots. You're just like, something slips through the cracks and you're like, it's just chaos. You guys all know, you make movies.
Totally. So yeah, did any come to mind of like folks you guys want to shout out?
Shout out Anissa Salazar and Michelle Chung here.
Woo! Okay, so...
Hair and makeup department heads. Solid. Echo Kwan.
Oh yeah, big fan
You
of
stole
Echo.
mine.
Oh, sorry.
Let's just talk about Echo
I
for
didn't say
30 more minutes.
Well, we should just
please.
talk about like Echo. Do you want to talk about her involvement and how amazing it was?
So, to rewind, the script was written in 100% in English, but as you see in the film, it's in Chinglish. It's a mixture of Chinese, English, Cantonese, and Kwan and I both were really poor students in Chinese school, and we had to go on Saturday mornings. I was slightly better than him, so my Chinese is slightly better than his as well. So I was the one who kind of like was trying to put it into the vernacular of my home, but like my Chinese is so bad, I was like Google translating it. Oh, right, that's what it is, and then putting it in. And then when we cast Ki Hui Kwan, he's like, my wife is a pretty good translator, and maybe she can help. And then she just came in.
I think because like he started going through the script and she just started giving us notes.
Oh right, she just came
and she
in.
was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, but
no one would say it like
his
that.
speech is bad, and we'd be like, why? Please help us.
Yeah, so she just came in and then worked with me on the side. It was just like, all right, this is how we would say it properly in Chinese, and then I would butcher it and add in English words to say, okay, well, this is how I feel like I would say it, and then we'd show it to them, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good.
But then ultimately, it all happened real time. Our first reading of the script with the cast, with the family, Michelle and Key and everyone, we were sitting there. Echo was there, and we were all just like, kind of throwing back and forth how our aunts would say it, or how someone this is how my grandfather would say it, and it was actually really a great bonding experience and really fun. And it also showed me like, oh man, this movie is going to be good. Just watching all of them interact, they were a real family, and it was a very exciting moment. But Echo was such a big part of it because she, out of everyone in the whole crew, she was actually amazing at Cantonese, amazing at Mandarin, and her English was like really good enough for us to work with. And
if she had a problem with English, she would just talk to Key.
Yeah.
And together, the three of them were totally fluent in all three. Like,
and then the funny thing is, Echo was like, I've been in America for a very long time because I followed my husband here. They met in Hong Kong, and I have not been hired for anything this entire time. And the last job she had was working for Wong Kar-wai in Hong Kong. And so this gem of a human being who understands production, who has worked closely with Wong Kar-wai, has just been kind of sitting at home waiting or trying to figure out what to do with her life. And like this thing it just kind of fell together in a really great way. And
we
she
had
became
no
like
idea.
our mascot. She was such a cheerleader for the whole movie.
She did a ton of work for free. Like I think stayed up all night helping with the script, and we were like, please be the translator.
We'll hire you. We'll give you money.
She cried when we hired her.
And then not only that, she then showed up every day. There was Chinese dialogue, and then became our language expert on set and was like, no, you wouldn't say it like that, because she was knowing, all right, you're from Hong Kong, you're from Taiwan, you're from mainland China, and was like correcting everyone's accents. And without her, it could have been a total mess.
And she was the mascot, and she would make snacks and bring people presents.
She'd bring soup for Michelle every day. Like she'd cook this home cooked soup for Michelle. She was incredible.
And she'd wear Google eyes on her face all the time.
She still just checks in on me sometimes. Like I'm not. Just hey, how
Is she here? Is she here? She's
No, no, she
I don't know.
was
I
there.
Wish
Yeah.
she'd be
She
so
left.
embarrassed.
She messaged me saying that she hopes that I have a great life, which is really
I guess
sweet.
you're never gonna see her again. Okay.
Right?
Don't ever talk to me. Have a good life.
Okay. So far, YouTube begging, find Wong Kar-wai's ex-employees. Okay. Good. Actually, before we move on, Anissa, you just because we called you out, hair, makeup, looks. How many looks did you have to do for this movie?
Well, we're getting also ready to do some press, so I had to go back to our emails from 2.5 years ago, and I was looking through, and it's definitely over like 27 for Michelle that we didn't include, and then I think for Stephanie it was 25 or I think a little less. Yeah, and it was funny though, like you guys were saying, like we used it for like one frame, and then, like I couldn't even count. They're like, okay, well, axe murderer, grocery store, old mom, grandma. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And at that point, like, I'm just thinking, okay, there's a way that John Waters could do good, bad. So I think I could do that too.
Yeah, good bet. Okay, so for the people at home, mid-20s for Michelle, mid-20s for.
And that's the number of looks that
Yeah.
the actors had. So she had to keep track of them, and some of them we returned to them over and over. And
Right,
a lot
the
of
continuity of it is a mess.
And then some of them were like, oh, this afternoon we're just going to do 6 looks, one every 15 minutes. Go, go, go.
Not basic looks. These were like extravagant, very stylized looks. So it's like, cool. So
That's your fault. You kept sending us awesome reference photos.
So
and
for
we'd be
everyone
like-
at home, Anissa is bragging, saying she's
Yeah.
really good, and she's
She'd
doing.
be like, "Oh, maybe Jobu has like a giant, bagel-shaped hairdo," and we're like, "Yes, good luck."
Yeah.
But,
I don't know if you saw the K-pop look, but she has Jobu in her bangs kind of stuck to her forehead.
And she had like 10 minutes to do it too.
But Anissa brings up good, bad, and I think that's a really good. It kind of goes back to what John was saying about the trust and understanding. And I think people who work with us know that there's a good, bad balance, a ratio. For a movie like this, it's like 10% of all these things that we're talking about. That's the good. Let's make those work. Let's invest a lot of time and money into finding the right looks or the right stunt people or the right, the right amount of time in the schedule. And then, you have the next tier, the next 25% is that's okay, it's passable. Maybe it looks good from a couple angles. And then once you get beyond that, like the remaining, I said 10%, 25%, okay, 65%, it's just bad. Just totally, don't phone it in, but just don't worry about it. If it's stressing you out, tell us and we'll find a replacement. If you happen to, be walking down the street and you see an old couch and you're like, that's good, pick it up. Just whatever you think you can fill that rest, that 65%, we will take it and we will do something with it. It's this weird, it's the 10%, let's plan everything we can, and the rest of it, let's leave it up to the film gods and improvise. And I think every single department head, once they work with us, they understand that, and suddenly they're not saying how are we going to pull this off. They're asking what's the good part? What's the part that we have to focus on? And I think that's the only reason why something like this can exist is for the money or whatever.
Yeah, and I think you guys did a really good job in writing the script to take place almost entirely in an office building. That really, really helped every single department.
Do you want to talk more about that?
Me?
Yeah, just the
Oh, what did it help?
Well, no,
Just the
because
building.
wasn't there was an original script you guys didn't think the Die Hard method, right? It was kind of everywhere, right?
It kept the 240-page draft did some adventuring into the parking lot and parking garage and down the street, but there was always a lot of office building. But still, definitely in the rewriting process, we started trying to be how many spaces can we reuse? How much can we focus this? How can we keep the stunts all within this building, and then we tried to see how many things can we shoot in the building that don't even take place technically in the building. Like, how can we use this building like a
mini stage,
like a lot, you know?
Yeah,
So
for
we
those of
built
you
the apartment in the building.
For those of you guys who don't know, like every time you move a film production, it costs. How much does it cost to just transport everyone?
A ton, but it eats hours and hours and hours of a day.
Which is
just
also,
which is
maybe even more important, the time. And so with a movie like this that, like, you know, has literally an infinite number of locations, we were like, we're never going to be able to make our days if we're constantly moving our people. And so this is something that Scheinert always pushes for, is like, how few moves can we get in our entire schedule? And like, when we do move, let's make sure it counts and it's worth it. And so for this movie, how many weeks were we in the IRS building?
7, I think. I mean, 7 shooting, right?
Yeah.
35 days.
yeah, around there. I think. I think it might have been less though.
A little
It was
bit less
6.
than that.
6 weeks.
Right? 6,
Yeah.
and then 1 week in the laundromat, and then 1 week running around like crazy.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just the
So-
last week, we were like, and hot dogs, movie star, alleyway,
Kung Fu fight scene. Yeah, it's
church, temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a location, an infamous location in LA called DC Stages. That's like, I don't know how this thing still exists, but it's one big warehouse with like 400 standing sets.
But they're all like high school theater level.
Yeah,
of,
they're
Yeah,
real
Larkin
bad.
was like,
They're
please
real
don't
bad.
shoot there. You like look out the window of the bedroom set, and you're like, is that a jail and a library? Like,
But that is one of those things that you're talking about where it's like, it's good, bad. Like, we were just able to go boom, 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 and shoot so many scenes in that one location. But if you
Yeah.
guys weren't willing to do that, it would have been impossible.
we kept saying like, she's a sign spinner. We'll just shoot it. She'll just spin a sign on the side of the street. And then Larkin was so upset it was in the trailer. He's like, no, the sign spinner's in the trailer. You told me that shot wasn't important. He's like, I didn't light it.
Wow, Larkin sounds like a diva.
Right? Jeez. He's like, I want it to look good.
Everyone on our crew's great except for Larkin. He's a total diva.
But like, for even more context, like the apartment, the family apartment at the beginning of the movie and throughout, that was built inside the cafeteria of this building. So was the inside of the Alpha RV with all the sci-fi tech. That was built in the cafeteria as well. And we just kept like trying to redress things within the same space. And another great thing about that is, if you've ever done a production where the production office is here and then the location is here, and then for some reason there's a casting thing happening here, again, you are spending your entire day in traffic, and it's not a really great place for you to be pre-producing or thinking creatively. And so instead, we were just using scooters, going around, you're running around this building, going from each department, who are all literally next to each other. And then sometimes if people have questions, rather than being like, let's set a meeting for that later, you just say, just go next door. And the efficiency was so important for a project like this, where the conversations had to happen fast and before, because every single decision has a ripple effect across every department. So we had to make decisions fast, and everyone had to be kind of tight-knit in this way. And so being in one space, creating the summer camp vibe, I think is like one of the biggest decisions we made that kind of made this whole thing more manageable. And I'm so glad we found this defunct, weird-looking, that atrium is like hilarious, but I love it.
Which I guess one of the unsung heroes then would be Jason and Kelsey, who aren't here. They just left. But the production designer, Jason Gizvarde, and the set decorator, Kelsey Ephraim, they kind of started this whole practice on the Turn Down for What video, which, if you don't know, he's the guy in Turn Down for What. That's him.
It's the best music video of all time.
Go look it up. But the way we achieved that was we found one space that we could dress really cheaply, and then we would go and shoot like outside, do something like an effect as they quickly reset, and then we shoot it for a different apartment, shoot something else over here, pop back in, and then shoot that again. And we did that same model for the Wang family's apartment. They dressed that, made it look great, and then they stripped everything out, turned it into the hot dog universe, and then they stripped that out, broke it down, then we built the RV set next to it. And so all that efficiency of shooting, we could leapfrog and do all of this stuff. But not everyone would be willing to do that, but Jason and Kelsey were so down.
I just want to say one thing about the hot dog universe. You guys remember the hot dog universe, right? It's like it's very pink. There's a lot of cats. It's like a completely different vibe, and that's the next thing that comes out of the good bad paradigm is you say, don't worry about the hot dog universe. It's a joke, and then the person who's working on it, so Kelsey, our set decorator, was like, I love the hot dog universe. I'm gonna push it into the 10%. And so she went all out. They changed every piece of furniture, the carpet, everything was just pink and hot dog colors, and it looks amazing and it feels completely different, even though it's technically the same space. And every single week, one of our crew members are saying, "I'm pushing something into the 10% because I care and I love this thing and I want it to be good." And so that's another thing that comes out of working with friends or people who are passionate or people who like really this is more than a job for them, is you get these surprises. So we have all these contingency plans and we're like, bare minimum, like we always talk about Swiss Army Man. If no one lets us make this movie, bare minimum, the reason why we wrote it the way we wrote it is at least we can play it and we can go take a camera with a friend and shoot it for $10,000. You know, we're like, what is our contingency plan? And with this movie, we had so many contingency plans, but every single time our friends, you know, they're just friends now, would just be like, nope, this is going to be the best part. Rakakuni, we said, yeah, I know, it's amazing, right? And it's only because Jason Hamer, who does all of our practical...
He was like, no, we told him this is not a priority. It can look like taxidermy. Yes. Like, it can be so ugly. And he was like, nope, I'm going to make an incredible animatronic
that can, like, with like pulley hair in a wig. So Harry Shum Jr. is wearing a wig that has pulley systems.
Like 10 different controls for like eye, mouth, ears, neck. It could hump.
And it's yeah.
We were like, Jason, oh my God.
and it's a really weird counterintuitive thing because most directing is all about like over micromanaging, being like, I want it to be exactly like this, and this has to be exactly like this, and like I definitely fall into those pitfalls sometimes as a director. But this is almost the opposite. It says this is like play.
We kept saying quantity over quality.
Yeah.
And then people were like, no, I want this one to be good.
Exactly.
Like, fine.
So instead of like pushing them and forcing them to do it, they kind of naturally went towards what they actually were passionate about. And because of it, I think it made it so much, the whole movie just sings because of those kind of creators or collaborators.
Well, I will also add to that just that the script itself draws in people who like to do their job and like to do things that are creative and outside of the box. So like every department head is excited to make this raccoon be just ridiculous and absurd, because when is he going to ever get to make a raccoon like that ever again? And that goes for like most of the movie. It's
well,
like
everyone's asking for a spin-off. Exactly, everyone's asking for it.
It's already greenlit.
I wanted to bring him to the premiere, but it's too.
But there is one thing maybe you guys didn't know about, which was Potato Gate, which was there was an idea that you guys had that I think that it somehow didn't. Communication is key on movies, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. And one was that you wanted one of the guards to you wanted Jobu to touch the guard and the guard to turn into a sack of potatoes, and that didn't get fully communicated in prep, and so then it became a surprise, and it involved every single department. It involved VFX, it involved special effects, it involved stunts, it involved art, and everybody was like running to John and I's office being like, we don't know how.
We don't have potatoes.
What do we do about it?
And it was like a whole day just being like, what about these potatoes?
24 hours of just talking about a sack of potatoes.
This makes me so sad.
And we all just referred to it as Potato Gate for the rest of the movie.
Oh man, yeah, because in our brains we were like, oh, a guy goes, ah, and then we'll throw his clothes in the air and some potatoes. But yeah, practical effects was like, how's it working? Visual effects, how's it working? Clothes, how many extra, do we need an extra pair of clothes? We totally didn't think through how many departments would freak out.
I think Jason even showed up on set, who was offset designing. He showed up on set, he's like, I heard about potatoes.
Oh my God. And
Guys,
then it turned out great.
The shot looks awesome. The shot looks great.
And Zach like helped us do the visual effect. Looked great. Movie was too long, we cut it. Cutting room floor. The actor killed it. What was his name? Seth, one of our like main riggers on the stunt team. That was his big cameo. He went so hard, just like, ah!
Yeah.
Cutting room floor.
And
so sad.
the other thing that I'll say is that like the thing about our sets is like we try to run them very flat. Like we don't have reserved seats. Producers aren't more important than directors, aren't more important than PAs. So when you come on our sets,
But you do have your own special coffee.
Yeah, I
but
brought
you make
it
it yourself, so.
But I would make it for everyone, and then
yeah. I'm just kidding.
He's a snob, but he's like an egalitarian snob. No, it's okay. It's good. Yeah.
No, but that was what we all decided to do, was we were going to put the PAs first in the credits, very intentionally.
It was my partner Steph's idea.
Oh yeah, where's Steph?
Where's Steph? There she is. That was her idea. But we all decided that of course that's a no duh. We got to do that because what we try to do is like we try to have the movie be there is no unsung heroes. We try to sing the praise of all the heroes. So we always hand out weekly awards and do all these things to make everyone know just how hard they're working and just how good of a job they do.
Do you have any memorable?
What did the awards look like, John? Like, where did they come from?
Oh, was this one of your questions that I just?
No, I'm excited. It kind of was. Good segue.
Well, it started when we did Swiss Army Man, and I did this really stupid thing called the Poop Awards because our movie's really stupid, so why not have a stupid award? And
Stood for Producer's Outstanding Overachieving Person.
Exactly. Easy to remember.
Yeah. And then we gave out Poop Time Life Achievement Awards.
Yeah, Poop Time Life Achievement Awards. Those
for
were
people who
really
did
good.
An extra good job.
But the idea, this was John's idea, and to his credit, it was just brilliant. Every single day in the morning, we do warm-ups with everyone. We just do like a little camp exercise, and then we give
That was our idea.
Oh, yeah, there was that.
Great
there was
idea.
that.
Then
He'd come in and he'd be like,
yes-anded.
okay, yesterday we asked everyone on set who really excelled, and we, call it out. And it doesn't matter who it is, like if it is, the boom operator or a PA or
I
the
think
person
the
that
first
created.
Poop Award was for a Teamster, like one of the
Teamster.
drivers who was just the sweetest, and he came on set and started helping us like jiggle a fake car on day one of Swiss Army Man.
And then it's so funny, like the gifts on Swiss Army Man were like, I went to CVS and like bought a roll of toilet paper and was like, here you go, like you get this award.
You gave out diapers.
I gave
one
out, it was
time.
just so silly
Yeah.
the first time,
And
but then
people loved it.
But
loved it and they worked harder.
They got really. It was like thank you for this pack.
toilet paper.
Exactly, a pack of toilet paper. But it's really just a thought. It's like being acknowledged and being seen by your collaborators is such an important part of any creative process, and that gets lost in film because of how much of a machine it has become. And I think I think one reason why our movies are able to sing for so low budget is because we fill this cup of whatever, the passion cup, whatever you want to call it, that passion equity, and we try to maintain that throughout the shoot because we want to have our passion cups filled, right? and
also we make people work hard.
Yes,
And
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, well, at least you get a prize.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's no one's job was easy.
So I ended up upping my game from CVS toilet paper to I bought little rats because it was the year of the rat, the Chinese year, and so we would pass the rat, and so the first week we gave it to someone, and then we decided that it would be better because it was a bigger crew that person would then talk to their other departments and they would decide who they would elect. So then it was just a passing on of the rat. But then there was also we made Rakakuni medals for like a weekend awards where it was kind of like a special distinction. And I wish we still have extras of those.
We should have brought them.
Kind of giving them out to you guys for being great
Rakakuni
listeners.
Swag, yeah. Yeah.
And then you made mugs as well. We had award mugs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, how do you spend your guys' money on these movies? It's like,
Mugs and medals.
yeah, custom mugs.
Yeah.
That was my money, so don't worry. It didn't take it from the screen. It was
But my other question was going to be that like in keeping with that early on, we talked about how we wanted to make the set like fun, like good vibes, sustainable when possible, like do community outreach or celebrate people, and all of you like had great ideas about how to make that happen, and I just wanted you to compliment each other or talk about like things that worked or things we tried, under that umbrella on the movie.
I mean, we had a sustainability coordinator, which is something that we hadn't had before, but we'd always wanted to. Shout out Vange Spracklin, who I don't think is here, but is great.
Yeah,
so
she ran around telling people what to put in which garbage cans.
Yeah.
Be like, that doesn't go in there. That's compost.
Or like, we didn't have water bottles on set, and like that can be kind of a scary thing for people on crews because it's just a mainstay. But the amount of water bottles that go through, in a day is kind of mind-boggling.
I don't like bottled water.
Yeah. So.
A big part of that is food waste. There's a lot of food waste on film sets a lot because of the way that film catering usually works is that they just make 40% more than you ever need because they don't ever want to run out. That would be embarrassing and scary or whatever. But dealing with that food waste was one of the biggest things of just making sure like these 5 trays of food get to go to this place this week, this place that week. The water bottle thing was huge, and then we actually shot this straight up until the moment COVID hit. And then we spent the next 2 years not being able to do any of that sustainability stuff with
And we're like, you know what we should do on the pickups is everyone should have an individually packaged disposable meal wrapped in several layers of plastic.
Yeah. But the thing about the sustainability is if you put all your stuff into the separate bins on a film shoot and then you put all that stuff outside, it's up to someone that we don't know to come and pick it up and then recycle it. And oftentimes what happens, sadly, is they just put it into the trash dump and just drives away. So no matter how good you feel on set putting it in a recycling bin, it doesn't do anything. So luckily, we actually sourced the recycling company to come. Here's the bottles. Here's the paper. Here's the trash.
And Vange actually figured out, like, oh, this recycling plant doesn't take certain things that people throw in there, and we were like carefully trying to get rid of those.
She actually made us play a little recycling game halfway through the shoot just to train everyone. It's like, okay, everyone, get it's again like, what are you guys doing, wasting your time playing? We were playing a game about like
she made
quiz
us.
show.
Yeah, she would hand us something and be like, "Which bin?"
Yeah.
While the whole crew watched.
Yeah, the whole
Dan
crew was
and I.
watching. Yeah. But I feel like things like that are so inspiring to us, just because process is everything. You know, it's like that's how you spend your days. That's how you spend your life, and eventually that becomes who you are. And it's not just about the final product, and that's something I had to learn through 10 years of working with Scheinert, who's always been about process, and I've always been about final product. And so I think I'm so excited that this movie, we leveled up on a creative level, but we also are leveling up on just all these other aspects that I think are so important to our own like humanity, our own like, you know, mental, you know.
And I think it affects the final product, you know,
Yeah.
because like we burnt the candle at both ends and got demoralized on some projects, and it's like, well, it wasn't as good, you know, because we got sad and tired and mean, you know.
Well, I would say a huge thing was when you guys cut together a very rough version of the fanny pack fight and then played it for the crew, because there are people like the Teamsters who were never on set. Then there were so many people that had no idea what you guys were actually shooting because they were never there, that got to see it, and like it had a ripple effect for days after you guys showed it to people.
That's true. We showed it during lunch, and people. It was the fanny pack fight, like right. And you guys saw that. That thing's amazing. It's such a fun sequence, and our editor just threw it together really quickly. And even in that very.
He's here.
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
Paul.
Oh,
Hey.
Paul Rogers.
Maestro. And I just remember the moment we broke for lunch, people were like, let's go fucking do this. Let's go make a movie. And like, it felt so cool. I was like, this is amazing. And we did it like, it wasn't halfway through the shoot, but like, you know, we had been working for a while and people were tired. And it was just a really beautiful thing to be like, oh yeah, remind them why they're doing this, and they will, you know, they will want to keep doing it. And yeah, all those little things are so important.
Speaking of reminders, you guys are the moderators, but I think we have to go to Q&A.
Q&A, guys.
Let's do some
Okay. So
Q&As.
if you have a question, there's a microphone they want us to use because they're recording this.
Right over there. Cool. I don't have to do my questions. Great.
Hi, I'm a Daniel as well.
Oh, no way.
Oh, sorry. Sit down.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Questions from people not named Daniel.
How long did it take to get Michelle and Steph in the rock costumes? No, but really.
We can't tell you about the rock scene. It's insane.
No, I would love to. Really, I just was wondering if there were any shots that were deceptively complex that actually had just really simple solutions, or shots that everybody would think would be CG or something, and it was actually just a really easy practical.
I'd love for y'all to answer. Like, if there's shots you were like, I thought that was gonna be so much harder than like it actually was, or just ones you're proud of us. You're like, good job. That was a good one.
All of them. You did a really good job, buddy.
A quick question for the last one. A shot that's 100% in camera is that you would never expect. When she is in the audit, she presses the button, she zooms back through with the rolly chair into the closet. Up until the moment of impact, that's all in camera, and we just cranked the frame rate really low, opened up the shutter, and we just had her move really slow motion, and everything is streaking, and it's just really effective and fun. We didn't even speed it up or anything, and it's all in camera. We just played it back at 24, and that's what it looks like.
Wow.
We did a bunch of tests with like iPhones and rolly chairs before the shoot, and it was so fun. We just kept taking turns, but we should probably get another take of like.
almost all the effects that like you see, whether the confetti effect or all this, it's pretty simple comping. Like at the end of the day, and that's how we were able to achieve it. So it's like you have someone act, you keep the camera where it is, and then you throw confetti, you drop a shirt, and then in post you comp it together. But so it's not like CG. You're not doing big CG effects at all.
Right.
And so I mean that is a major way we pulled this off.
You guys ever hear of TikTok? You know how they do all this like match cutty stuff. Those
That's all we did.
Those TikTok artists are honestly better than us, and I watch them and I feel bad about myself. So it's like that's basically all we're doing. Okay, next question.
At what point did Son Lux get involved in the project, and were they did you have an idea that they were going to be involved from the beginning, or was that something that happened in post? And then like any particular notes of like working with artists like Ryan, Rafiq, and Ian?
A fan. I like it. You're a big fan.
Yeah, we Dan writes with music a lot, and so like we had like a 10-hour playlist by the time we were done with like the first draft or something. And at some point, Dan's like found Son Lux's music. They're the composers, and then he found that each of the three guys in the band have their own solo work where they kind of delve into their very specific instruments and backgrounds, and we just fell in love with it, and we're like, oh my god, like this, each of their solo records could be a different universe. And so they
the variety and also the technical. They are just like technical geniuses when it comes to music, and
Yeah.
they're like these are the people who are gonna somehow make this work.
So they came on the fall before we shot. We reached out, and turns out they're the sweetest guys. They're so nice. They're very enthusiastic. For a minute, we thought it was gonna be fun that Ryan lived nearby, but then COVID hit, and we were never in the same room. But they were incredible to work with. The other kind of miraculous thing that happened was they gave us every song they'd ever made with the instrumental version. They just took the vocals out and gave it to us. So then with Paul, we cut the movie with temp score, but all the temp score, like 80% of it was just their music. And we were like, anyway, now replace your song with something, but it's already tonally in the fabric of the movie, which was so fun for us.
And then the main reason why we hired them early is because they not only wrote the score, but they wrote the Rakakuni song, they wrote the Hot Dog Finger musical, the all that stuff. So they wrote, and it was really fun because they were so outside of their comfort zone. Their music is so beautiful and serious and like just like insanely epic. And so like, can you make like a like a 1950s musical about like hot dogs fingers and stuff like that? And they're like, okay, sure.
That was their first thing they had to write, and they're like, what have we signed up for? And then the last thing I'll say is that they connected us with all these awesome other artists that kind of contribute to the score. And John, along with the band and their manager, kind of helped us connect the dots and get Randy Newman to voice a raccoon and Andre 3000 to play his flute for us.
Good question. Thank you.
Hi. So I cried throughout like the entire second half of the movie. Like
Why not the first half?
The first half too, but like.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Fine.
Honestly, thank you so much.
Right.
Sorry.
But there's some like crazy random shit that happens, and I was just wondering, how did you make such absurd scenes so touching, and how did you handle that balance?
Yeah, there's something weird about our brains where, like, if I watch a movie that I know is going to be sad, and then the sad part happens, I don't get that sad, or like I'm like, oh, I'm in that movie. Oh, it's that movie. This is that scene in that movie, and for us, like, it's that juxtaposition that actually breaks down our barriers and our, makes it suddenly hit home, because you're like, oh God, I don't know what movie I'm in, but that made me sad, and so we kind of just make movies in a way that works on us, and also that on the opposite side, that's when I laugh the hardest, is if I'm emotionally invested and then something stupid happens, then I like cackle. But like if a stand-up comic makes a witty observation, I'm like,
But it's mostly because like our lives are just chaos, and like you're feeling every emotion at the same time now. It's like it just felt really truthful, and we started this movie back in 2016, right before everything just started to feel crazier and crazier. Like our empathy is being stretched in all these different directions, and so it feels honest to be laughing and crying and confused and disgusted all at the same time. And so it's a real challenge.
Had a writing retreat and we came up with Raccacoonie, and then like a week later Trump was elected and I had like a mental health crisis. I was like, woo! Oh, that week was like the movie. It was like so high highs, low lows.
But I'm glad you loved it, and I'm glad you were able to feel all of it. I like to think of this movie as a stretching exercise for your emotions and your soul. Just want to make you feel everything, the full range of everything, so you don't hurt yourself out in the real world. So I hope you feel stretched and ready for the rest of your life.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, okay. They're saying one more question. Oh no. For everyone else, we'll be around. You can ask us a question. That's fine.
Cool. I feel honored. So this was just such an imaginative movie. I feel like you guys just pulled all of these random things and brought them to life in such a scrappy way. I was curious if there was anything that you weren't able to bring to life, or any like oh fuck moments where something almost died and then you were able to save it, like Potato Gate or any kind of things like that.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of any big ones. I know that there's like a lot of stuff in the original script that ended up getting cut. Like I think that Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy is obviously the one.
Baby Noodle Boy.
We did a whole pickup shoot like in the pandemic. People were like standing like, this is so early days. We didn't even know what was going on. Like we're wearing masks, shields, washing our hands, like bleaching our mouths. We didn't know what the heck we were doing, and like, not really, but
you kept doing that hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I was like, John, it's
dewormer.
Not, that's
just listening to
don't-
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And
He was
just
like, guys
taking a
want
bunch of
dewormer?
stuff.
Fuck, John.
No, but we ended up doing a whole shoot of Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy in the pandemic, and we cut it all together in the movie, and then it just ended up going away.
I feel like someone should just explain Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy real quick.
Yeah, it's so easy. You guys get it, right?
In the scene,
the name explains we shot Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy.
In the scene where it's in Chinatown with the CEO Wayman and the movie star Evelyn. She says, my mind is breaking. I can think of any random thing, and it comes to life, like spaghetti or a baby and boy. And then she's in a pot, and she's a little macaroni with swirling spaghetti, and the macaroni's having an existential crisis why it's not a spaghetti.
Right. She's the spaghetti mom, and then Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy is upset because no one else has a hole like him, and he's a talking macaroni.
Right.
And it was just, we wanted
These were like big, lifelike puppet, like puppets like this big.
No,
like
this is Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy got this
the
big.
Spaghetti was like this.
Right. We had a big old pot.
Oh, yeah.
We shot it with bigatures.
I thought of a good one. Tim set up a huge, like, one story, like 50 by 50 set of boxes, so that a Jamie Lee Curtis stunt double could jump off of the top of the IRS building and then like commit suicide essentially. And
because Jobu tells her to. Yeah.
And we did it, and it was all in this practical shot where Jamie stumbles back, falls out of frame, and then the stunt double runs and jumps off the edge of the atrium,
The balcony,
and
yeah.
fell. And we did it like 3 times, and it was epic. Never made it in the movie.
We were also going to bring back the song Barbie Girl.
Oh my God!
God.
Thank you. I forgot.
You guys have
There's
no
a whole
idea.
Barbie girl through line. Oh.
The
It
movie
was
is
huge. It was like central to the plot.
The opening credits were the family singing karaoke together, and they sang Barbie Girl, and at the end they sing it again, but with everybody. We had too many endings. It felt like people were very mad.
We still do have too many.
Yeah,
But now we
like,
have like.
when that was in there, people were like, part 3, I was angry. Like the movie was over. Sorry, Larkin. Larkin wanted it to end with Barbie Girl.
Larkin is such a diva. It's crazy.
Might
This
even
is
say
not
he's a
your
Barbie
question.
girl. Yeah.
There's a whole nother sequence where we're just ruining our own movie for you guys. There's a sequence with like a talking urn where Michelle's dead and she's like her urn self. And when we were shooting it, Larkin was like, "This is gonna be great for the Blu-ray, guys." And we're like, "No, it's gonna be in the movie." And he's like, "Sure." And he was right. He was right.
Thank you for your questions, guys. Thank you for coming to listen to us. I think it's actually really important that people understand how indie films are made and why it's so hard for them to, exist in this current climate, up against like big blockbusters and things that are really flashy.
And also for you to know that we didn't do it all.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting to celebrate just a fraction of the crazy team of people who actually made this movie possible. So round of applause, not for us, but for them, please.
And all of you. Thank you.